Welcome back, everybody, on a beautiful Thursday morning. Hot mic off and rolling. Busy show on tap. I mentioned earlier off the top of the program, the Bison football team has been certainly active in the portal. We mentioned last week they added a couple guys. Yesterday, we talked about the two more they added. Over the weekend, they were able to get a player that they've known for a bit out of Hutchinson, Minnesota, who spent the last 2 years at the University of Minnesota, and now he'll be transferring and joining the Bison for this upcoming fall. Linebacker Alex Elliott out of Hutchinson, Minnesota, joins us, and his interview brought to us here by Northwestern Mutual. Congratulations, bud. We were just visiting off air about this process and how this all played out. NDSU has been in contact with you for a while, so when decided, okay, I'm going to go in the portal, was your mind made up already that I want to come to Fargo?
Oh yeah. My mind is made up. I knew I visited Fargo back in high school, and I knew right away that this is where I wanted to be. This is where I wanted to go. My head coach Rosberg was already talking him up, and I knew all the coaches, the head coach, the linebacker coach, and I knew right away I was going to be a good fit. So for the transfer portal shenanigans, I knew exactly where I was going.
Describe the last 2 years. Frustrating. I know you wanted to obviously play Big Ten football. How do you describe the last 2 years in Minnesota?
Yeah, the last 2 years were a grind. Obviously, I didn't play, which is not what I'd hoped, but I learned a lot of life lessons along the way. I learned how to work hard. I learned how to, stay on top of my stuff, time management. I gained weight. I developed my body. So I took a lot of great things out of it, but so I'm trying to stay positive on that aspect. But it was definitely a challenge. It was definitely frustrating not seeing the results I wanted. But once I got the call from NDSU, I knew it was go time, and I knew that my opportunity is ready to come out. So I'm happy about it.
Alex, take us back through the recruiting process because you had everybody talking to you. You played for a team that everybody knows that you had great success. What was that like, and what do you remember about the Bison interaction with you during the high school recruiting process?
Yeah, so after the state championship game, or along that road, I started picking up recruiting a little bit. I made a lot of plays. I got acclimated in Minnesota. But the Bison stood out to me in recruiting because they were the ones that would come out to Hutchinson and visit me. They went to a track meet, games, multiple football games, school visits, home visits. I mean, they were like all over it. I remember just, even when Polasek was at Wyoming, he liked me a lot.
Yeah.
Right when I called him, he's like, Alex, this is meant to be. Like I wanted you for this long, and so I knew them super well, and I knew that I had a good connection with them. So there was a lot going on in recruiting, but it was NDSU forced them, basically for me to look at them. Like there was no option. They were at everything. So I knew of NDSU, and they were very prominent.
I know
Sure.
Grant Olsen recruited you heavily. How big was that relationship with you to have that tie with Grant?
Yeah. So Grant is a very good guy. He has the same moral beliefs as far as Christianity, and like a good moral standard guy. He was also a very good coach, and a very smart coach. So I knew right away, right when my first conversation with him, I'm like, okay, this guy can develop me. This guy knows what he's talking about. I'm going to learn so much about life, and also I'm going to learn so much about football, which is exactly what I wanted.
We're
So
watching.
I had a good feeling about Grant.
Sorry, but I didn't mean to cut you off there. We're watching highlights of you
Oh,
from high school of you toting the rock. You tell them you can play running back. I mean, you were. I know you
yeah.
play both ways, but man, you were a fantastic running back.
Yeah. If I get an interception or coach gives me the ball, I'm gonna make do with it. So I'm not afraid of having the ball. I'm not afraid of having the ball.
Describe to have that. You mentioned what Coach Polisic said to you that maybe it was meant to be. That this is now your future on that. How excited are you to get up here and just for people that don't know what's the timeline now for what's ahead for you?
Yeah, so I'll be up there kind of late May, around the 24th that weekend, and then I'm gonna move in. And NDSU kickstarts their summer workouts, I think the 28th. So I'm gonna be up there, living up there, doing everything a college student does, and doing grinding on summer workouts. So that's the next steps.
You know as well how many Minnesota guys are here. Off the top of your head, how many of you guys do you know or played against or all-star game? Just how many do you know on this roster already?
Yeah, I know Keenan Wilson. He was in my recruiting class, defensive lineman for you guys. Makai Collins, he was a receiver. He's a year older than me, but we competed a little bit. We knew each other from basketball and things like that. Um, and then Cade Osterman, he was a
Yep.
receiver back at Minnesota. We came in at the same class. We were good friends. So I knew him. I knew him decently well going into it. Great people. I knew them, so that also helped me become a Bison as well.
Coach Rosberg is a former Bison, which I know you and I talked about over the weekend. Was he steering you in any direction? Did he need to, or what was his influence on making this happen?
Coach Rosberg always talks very highly about NDSU. He always has something good to say about him. Um, so, I mean, right away when we knew I was getting in contact with NDSU, he called me. I didn't even know he was talking to NDSU. He just called me. He's like, hey, these guys like you. They're going to take care of you. I think it's a good fit for you. I think it's a good fit for you. I think this is meant to be. I've talked it up a little bit, but I wouldn't, I would highly consider this opportunity. So I took his word for it, and I did. Yeah, so Rosberg has been a big influence to me for sure.
We were visiting off air, Alex, about you when you came up for your recruiting visit in high school to now, and how different the campus looks. Obviously, the practice facility is done. What stood out to you after coming up here a couple weeks ago and then seeing it when you were up here in 2022?
Yeah, kind of like I said, back in 2022, it was a grass field and a turf field, and everything was in the Fargo Dome. So when I came up here, it looked like a Big Ten program, and I mean, it really did. There was a whole indoor facility, brand new weight room. I mean, meeting rooms looked really good. Nutrition staff, everything was right there. So it was like I just, I'm back home. Like it was the same. It's not going to be a difficult change. Nothing's really going to be difficult. It was a good feeling for sure. Yeah, I'm very, very impressed with what you guys did.
Could you describe your playing style for people that haven't seen you play defense or see you play at all at linebacker? How do you play out there on the field?
Yeah, so I'm a guy that likes to, I can cover receivers and also fit the run. I think a lot of guys as a linebacker, they're bigger guys, but I'm still around that 220, 225 range. So they're going to put me out there guarding receivers at Sam, and also being very physical, setting the edge, and also playing the run very fast. So I'm a more athletic, explosive guy. You're going to see me make plays, interceptions, things like that, but also able to deliver a blow down in the hole. I think that's big for a linebacker. So I think you're going to see explosive plays and also someone that just works hard in general. I'm going to be sideline to sideline working hard. So that's the biggest thing for me.
How anxious are you just to get back and play? I know you've practiced, but to get out and play a game, I got to imagine you got to be chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I am so excited to get out and play. It's a whole different feeling getting out and playing versus practicing that week. The game planning, the mindset change, everything like that. I am so excited to get back into it.
I think
yeah, I'm super happy.
The obvious question may be on, is there any regret about going to Minnesota because you didn't get a chance to play? How do you view it now that they're going to have a major life change here in a couple weeks?
It's hard to say. I mean, I learned a lot from Minnesota. I learned a whole new defense. I've gone through 3 defensive coordinators, so I've learned tons of aspects, tons of different things. I think if I would have went straight to NDSU, I would have had a better chance to play. I don't know exactly because at Minnesota, learning all those things, I think my worth ethic changed, and I became a better person. So I'm gonna translate that right into NDSU and like hit the ground running really, really fast. And I think I might have hit the ground a little slower than I wanted to at Minnesota. So I saw a Big Ten competition, those big linemen, big running backs. So I'm gonna be ready to go here at North Dakota.
I got an email to ask because obviously the Bison got another Minnesota transfer yesterday. Do you know Cortez LeGrand at all, and what kind of running back are the Bison getting in him?
Yeah, Cortez. Me and him might be rooming together this semester, so I know him really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun. We played cards together in the dorms and things like that. So no, he's really cool. He's one of the twitchiest running backs on our team. In testing, he was testing higher than a lot of the running backs. Super quick. You'll probably see him punt returning, kick returning.
Yep.
So that dude's a freak, and he can roll, and he's also a physical back. He can take contact, yards after carry. It's going to be big for him too. So I'm really excited that he joined the herd.
I got one last for another email comes in to ask you how much the Gophers ever talk about the Bison? How much Gopher fans hate the Bison? Do you hear that over the last couple of years in Minnesota?
I think it's clear that the Gophers might be a little scared to play the Bison. I don't want to talk bad about the Gophers, but I think they would have a run for their money.
Yeah.
So there are tons of Bison fans around Minnesota. I don't know about the rivalry as much, but I know that a lot of people back home love the Bison and super passionate about the Bison, almost like their own Big Ten team. So I think I'm excited to be around that kind of fan base. So it feels like home. It really does.
I really appreciate the time, but you mentioned to me off air, it's finals week. You got your own grind going on. Thanks so much for doing this. Good luck this week, and look forward to seeing you up here in person in a couple weeks, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Alex Elliott.
Day, man.
Thanks, bud. There he goes. Alex Elliott from Hutchinson, Minnesota, transferring from the U to North Dakota State. Linebacker that the Bison had been recruiting for a bit. Grant Olsen had been on this for, better part of 3.5 years, and now he'll be coming in. And I understand for some that, he hadn't played. How good is he? And he spelled it out there. I think he said it, maybe that he wasn't ready for the transition, but he's certainly got the physical attributes that he can be an FCS player. We'll see. Bison have some pretty good linebackers already. Joining this late in the game might be tough. Be something we'll be keeping an eye on during fall camp. And his interview presented by Northwestern Mutual. Appreciate that. We'll break. We come back. Another Bison transfer coming in, this time on the women's basketball side. You'll meet Lily Nyber. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns on this Thursday morning. We're back right after this.